Now the next part is presentation of rainfall data. So collection of rainfall data is one part, and even interpreting is going to be the another part. So for interpretation, so that is how we are going to use that collected data for the practical purpose. So this presentation is going to play an important role. So this is a what I can say a middle step, where from measurement till the utilization you are going to have. So for utilization you need to present this rainfall data in a much better way. So let us check out what are the various ways in which we can actually present these rainfall data. So the rainfall obtained at a rain gauge station is called station rainfall or point rainfall. Depending upon the need, the data can be listed as daily, weekly, monthly or annual values. So as I said, so that rotation of that clock drum which is there, so that can be fixed for any of these durations. Those data can be presented in one of the graphical forms as follows. Okay, so we have numerous ways in which we can do that, but we have first one is chronological chart. So in this chronological chart you can check out, so the x-axis is again time and y-axis is annual rainfall. So here it is not cumulative one, okay, so here it is just a annual rainfall. So if I try to explain here, so the year here is 1970, 1975, 1980, 85 and 88, whereas here the annual rainfall is 200 mm, 400, 600, 800 and 1000 mm. So at this point of time, let us not this hard line which is there, hard black color line which is there, that is nothing but a chronological chart. Okay, don't concentrate on this dotted line. Okay, that is a moving average curve that we are going to check out in the next slides. So if I ignore that dotted line and if I try to explain here, so what actually this indicates, it is a simple graphical representation what you have. So in 1970 we have something, our rainfall is in between this 400 and 600 mm. So that has been pointed over here. Now similarly the next year it has been there in 600, so that has been marked out. And similarly for every year basically we are marking these rainfall data with the help of point. And if you join those points with a straight line, so it is not a smooth curve as you can see. Okay, so if you can join those points with a straight line, then that particular curve is going to be called as chronological chart. It is as simple as that. Here what we are going to do, on x-axis we have time, on y-axis we have only the rainfall. It is not a cumulative rainfall as it is there in the rainfall mass curve that we have discussed earlier. Here it is just annual rainfall. So every year or every time period, so this may be months also, okay, x-axis may be month also, and even it may be days also, weeks also. Based on your requirement you can have the change of scale for the x-axis. Okay, so at that point of time, whatever time interval you want, what is the rainfall, you are just going to mark those points and you are going to join it with a straight line. So this graph or curve what you are going to get with this is nothing but the chronological chart. So this is the first way of representation of rainfall data. Now the second one is going to be bar chart. Now the second one is nothing but what? The bar chart. So here also if you check out, on the x-axis again I have time only, and on the y-axis again I have only the rainfall. It is not cumulative one. At this point of time, instead of just marking that particular point as it was there in the previous case, you can check out this figure, we were just marking that point. Okay, instead of just marking the point, here I am creating a bar for that. So each of these particular bars are having a width is equals to 1 year in this figure. Okay, but you can have it for 1 week, 1 day, 1 month, 1 season and so on and so forth. So based on your requirement you can have the thickness of this particular bar decided. Here it is 1 bar is equals to 1 year width. So again you can check out the same values, just instead of these points it has been represented in terms of bar. So that's why we call it as bar chart. Now similarly third one we have is ordinate chart. So here ordinate chart is again directly used to point, mark that point and join one to the another. But here I am just going to mark with a thin line, and this top portion will be the amount of rainfall that has occurred for that particular section. This is how it is going to work. So this is nothing but the simple ordinate graph. So for all these things if you check out, the x-axis is time and the y-axis is always the rainfall collected. Okay, so these are the three basic types of rainfall presentations which are there. But apart from that, now the next step is going to be moving average curve, because with all the three right now what we have discussed, one is chronological chart, one is bar chart, and the third one is ordinate chart. So with respect to this, I'll just a specific point in space, I just get what is the amount of rainfall that is occurring. Okay, so now if I want to have a trend in which the rainfall is varying over the years in a specific area, that time I will concentrate on, or else I will try to use the moving average curve. So what do you mean by this moving average curve? Okay, so I'll just read this first, then I'll try to explain. The graphical presentation of rainfall data shown by the below methods do not show any trend or a cyclic pattern of the data. So the first three which we have studied, so they don't show any trend or a cyclic pattern of that data. Also, the above presentation give extreme values. So here just per year I am just getting one value, right? So it is giving me the maximum or extreme value which is going to be there. However, the moving average curve smoothens out the extreme variation and indicate a cyclic pattern or a certain trend. It is also called as moving mean curve. It is constructed with a moving period of m is equals to 3 to 5 years. It is 3 to 5 years. If x1, x2, x3, x4 and so on up to xn are the rainfalls in the chronological order, then the moving average curve values for at m is equals to 3, that is for every 3 years moving average curve, are given by y1 is equals to x1 plus x2 plus x3 divided by 3, y2 is equals to x2, x3, x4 divided by 3 and so on. So actually what is being said over here, let me try to explain this to you. What they are trying to say in this moving average curve is, first of all, moving average curve can be made for the value of 3 or 5. So you cannot preferably even numbers will not be considered here. So odd number are preferred. So 3 to 5 it will be used. So in this case what is happening, if I just try to concentrate over here in this particular portion, okay, now you can check out this dotted line is nothing but 3-year moving average curve. So now even though the extreme ordinate, that is for a chronological chart, we had the value for 1970, 1971 and 1972, which is in between. But right now what it has done is, so you can check out, so it has taken the value of x1, I'll write it as, this is x1, this is x2 and this one is x3. Okay, so what this particular point which has been marked over here, okay, the starting point of this dotted line, okay, that is indicating the first point on the moving average curve. So at that point of time what is happening is this value has been arrived by averaging the x1, x2 and x3 value. So here you can check out, so y1 is equals to what, y1 is equals to x1 plus x2 plus x3 divided by 3. The average of all the 3 years is here. So this y1 is nothing but this ordinate, the first ordinate. Okay. Now if I go to this second ordinate here, which is there on the moving curve. So at that point of time what they have done, they have taken the value of x2, x3 and x4. x4 is where? x4 is here, the next bottom portion which is over here, right? So this is nothing but the x4 which is there. So for the y2 they have taken the next 3 years of data and then they have got this. Now similarly they will go on doing this for all the things. So whenever such kind of averaging is going on, what actually it does is it is going to smoothen your particular curve. Now here only in this figure it is quite visible. So initially it was quite steep, as you are seeing over here. It was going up, then coming down, then it has taken a sharp turn, then going up, down. So it was quite a rough what I can say graph which was there. But right now if you check out these dotted lines which are there, now what this has done, instead of having these extreme values, it has taken an average of the 3 years. So because of that what will happen, it is going to give me a smooth curve with a trend. It is going to give me a smooth curve with a trend. So here I can check out how the variation is there. So at what point the rainfall is more, when it is, in which years the rainfall trend is reducing, and on which year again this has been increasing. So I am going to get it with an average of 3 years. Okay, so it is going to give me a trend of that. So this is the basic moving average curve what we have. Okay, so ultimately till now we have studied 4 different types of charts representation. One was chronological chart, second was bar chart, third was ordinate chart, and the fourth one was average moving curve. Now in this average moving curve itself, we have 2 more ways of representation. So average moving curve is what? Somewhat generalized way of expressing. Okay, so in this we have 2 of the most important ways. The other forms of representation of rainfall data are, one is mass curve of rainfall, that is rainfall mass curve, what we have studied in the recording type of rain gauge stations. Okay, that clock driven drum, how it rotates and how the pen marks. So that rainfall data what we are going to collect will be in the form of this rainfall mass curve or the rainfall hyetograph. So this is a new term. So rainfall hyetograph. So these are the again 2 different ways in which we can represent the rainfall data. Fine. So with respect to that, let us check out what do you mean by this rainfall hyetograph first, and then we'll go for the rainfall mass curve. Okay. So first one is with respect to the hyetograph. Okay. First let me read this, then I'll explain this to you. Hyetograph. It is a chart or a graphic representation of average distribution of rain over the earth, and it is a plot of intensity of rainfall against the time interval. You can check out here. Hyetograph is a chart or a graphical representation which is available here of average distribution of rainfall over the earth. So here over the earth in the sense what? In your catchment area, what it is going to be there. Then, and it is a plot of intensity of rainfall against the time of interval. So here on the x-axis we have time itself, but on the y-axis, instead of having the rainfall collected or rainfall occurred in all the other cases just now what we have saw, but here we have intensity of rainfall at the y-axis. Okay, why it is required, I'll just explain you in a bit, but just for the sake of simplicity, this graph, what it is going to be there, x-axis will be time again, but the y-axis is going to be intensity of rainfall. Okay, the hyetograph is derived from mass curve and is usually represented as a bar chart. Okay, again the source of this hyetograph is what? Your rainfall mass curve only. Your rainfall mass curve only. From there you are going to collect this respective data, that is time and intensity of rainfall, and then you are going to represent it in terms of bar charts. Okay, that is nothing but this. The rainfall intensity progressively increases until it reaches a maximum and then gradually decreases. So usually whenever it happens, what your rainfall starts, okay, and it goes on increasing in its intensity, and at a particular point it will reach its maximum and then slowly it starts to reduce. So similarly over here, as and when the time increases, the intensity of rainfall is increasing, and after a particular point of time when the cloud based on its formation and all those other aspects, so once the maximum point is reached, and then the intensity is going to go on reducing. That is being explained here. Where this maximum occurs and how fast the maximum is reached, what differentiates our one distribution from another. So basically for explaining this, why if you check out this, why from 0 till this maximum it has taken very less time. Within, if you check out, within 24 hours, even in this graph, it has reached its maximum. But from this maximum to reach for 0, it has taken a very long time. Okay, for 96 minus 24 hours, so we have taken this much amount of time. So why this happens? Why the increase in intensity will be quite rapid, whereas decrease in intensity will be quite less. So this in detail we are going to check out when we study the hydrographs. So that is there in your third module. Okay, so when we study the hydrographs, so at that point of time you can determine this or else we can utilize this hydrograph. One more important bit here is these hytographs can be used for taking out your infiltration. So what do I meant by that is, in imagine this is the soil, okay, ground level, yeah, cloud, rainfall is occurring, and usually what will happen if 10 centimeter of rainfall is occurring, soil may absorb, let us say, 2 centimeters, and infiltration may occur, let us say, 3 centimeters, and runoff may occur for 5 centimeters. Okay, so such kind of example I have given you previously. Now actually whenever the rainfall occurs, how you are going to come up with these numbers? Okay, how you are going to come up with these numbers? So how much is the loss, how much is the total loss, how much is absorbed by soil, and how much is infiltrated, together we can actually calculate. So that is nothing but what we call it as losses. So in the second module we are going to study with respect to the losses. So whenever we study in that loss and we calculate the quantum of loss that is occurring, so total rainfall minus the loss will give you the amount of runoff which is going to be there. Okay, so that is going to be there. Okay, so for calculation of such scenario, this total scenario, for such scenario we use the rainfall hydrograph. Okay, so that's why this is one of the significant representation of rainfall data. Fine. Okay, the next one is your rainfall mass curve. Okay, so for this rainfall mass curve you can check out, first I'll just read it out, then we'll try to discuss this. This is quite important. Let's just read this. The mass curve of rainfall is a plot of accumulated precipitation against time. So here please check out, again on the x-axis I have time only, but on the y-axis I have accumulated precipitation. It is just not the precipitation. In the previous figures, if you are checked out, the value was going up and again it was coming back down. Okay, then it was going up. So that was the case for the previous slides, what for all the representation we have seen. But whenever it is an accumulated rainfall, you can check out, it has never come down, it will always go. If the rainfall is not occurring, then what will happen? No rainfall, so it is going to remain flat, and whenever the rainfall again starts, it is going to increase. So this is how your particular mass curve is going to look. So similar aspect is here in this particular graph. You can see there is no point at which the elevation has reduced, it has remained constant. You can see when there is no rainfall, but it has not come down. So that is nothing but your cumulative precipitation, what it is going to be there. Okay, uh, precipitation against time plotted in a chronological order. Records of load type and weighing bucket type gauges are in this form. So as we have explained earlier, a typical mass curve of rainfall at a station during a storm is shown in figure. So this is that figure. Mass curve of rainfall are very useful in extracting the information on the duration and magnitude of the storm. So magnitude in the sense here, the intensity of rainfall which is going to be there. Also, intensities at various time intervals in a storm can be obtained by the slope of the curve. For non-recording rain gauges, mass curves are prepared from the knowledge of the approximate beginning and end of the storm, and by using the mass curve, adjacent recording rain gauge stations are used as a guide. Okay, so let me explain what do you mean by all this. Okay, why this is so important. So first, let us I'll try to explain with respect to the existing figure first, and then we'll go here. Okay, now you can check out. So the x-axis is there for 4 days or 5 days. Imagine here we have 5th day also. Okay, so at this point of time, if I just check out this, on the y-axis I have the accumulated rainfall in terms of centimeters. So here from 0 day till this 2 bits which are there, okay, let us assume this as half day, there was no rainfall, so that's why it has not started with anything. Now once the rainfall starts, so it is going to start collecting and the rainfall curve will be drawn. So how it is drawn, that is similar to what we have studied in the weighing bucket and your siphon type of rain gauge, right? So same thing will be there. So once it starts to go on, okay, it starts to collect that rainfall data, and imagine at this point the rainfall has stopped. The rainfall has stopped. So now since it is a cumulative data, then this point cannot come down again. Okay, so that's why it is going to remain horizontal. So horizontal lines in the any of the mass curves will indicate no rainfall time duration. Horizontal lines in that particular rainfall mass curve will give you no rainfall time period. And again, once the rainfall starts, again the value will be risen up. Okay, again when the rainfall stops, again it is going to become horizontal. Now let us check out actually what these particular slopes and everything mean to you. Okay, now we'll try to draw our own rainfall data. Okay, sorry, rainfall mass curve. Okay, now here check out. Here I have 0 hour. Here I have 6 hours. Here I have 12 hours. And here I have 18 hours. And here I have 24 hours. Okay, this is for a whole day. And here I have, let us say, 2 mm. Okay, then we have 4, then we have 6, 8 and 10 mm. Okay, so at this point of time, let us assume some things. Okay, before I draw this curve, let us imagine that when time t is equals to 0, okay, amount of rainfall or else there was no rainfall, so r is indicating rainfall, so there was no rainfall. Okay, now when t is equals to, let us say, 6 hours, the rainfall has started. Now the rainfall after let us say 6 hours, okay, imagine from 0 hours there was no rainfall, but at 6 hours the total amount of rainfall that has been collected is, let us say, 4 mm. Okay, now again from 6 hours to, let us say, time is equals to 12 hours, the rainfall, there was no rainfall, there was no rainfall. So at that point of time, again the rainfall, here there was no rainfall, so that's why I am going to make it a cross. Now again t is equals to 18, at this point of time there was rainfall. Okay, and here the value of rainfall that has occurred is, let us say, 6 mm. Fine, so we'll just take these 4 ordinates. Now we'll try to draw the figure over here. So at t is equals to 0, I have no rainfall, so my value over here, or else my point, is going to be here only, the first ordinate. Now similarly the second one is for 6 hours, I have a rainfall of 4 mm. So for 6 hours, so here I will have what, this will be the second point. Now similarly for t is equals to 12, there was again no rainfall, so from 6 hours to 12 hours there was no rainfall, so that's why even the cumulative value of rainfall is going to remain as it is. Okay, so it is going to be 4 mm only. Now for 18 hours, again the from 12 to 18 hours, the amount of rainfall that has occurred is how much, 6 mm. So already 4 mm is there. Then for 18 hours cumulative, I am going to get how much, 10 mm. I hope you got this. For 18 hours, so 12 to 18 hours, the rainfall occurred is 6 mm. So that's why 4, which is already previously there, and the 6 which has occurred between 12 to 18 hours. So then totally I have for 10 hours of rainfall data. Now with respect to this, if I draw this particular curve, okay, with a smooth curve, if I draw it, and again imagine the last one over here, even will do that. So t is equals to 24 hours, that time also there was no rainfall. So in that case, again till this 24 hour, the same horizontal line is going to remain. The same horizontal line is going to remain with the ordinate at the end. Now with this in mind, let us understand what all things are available with us for this what I can say rainfall data. Okay, so for this, let me take another color. Okay, so now if I want to check out the total amount of rainfall that has occurred between 0 and 6 hours, so what you can do, already you have ordinate for 6 hours, So whatever is the value over here will be directly the amount of rainfall that has occurred for the 0 to 6 hours. So in this case the value is what? 4, which is available over here. Now the next question that might arrive for you is, what if I want to check the intensity of rainfall between 0 hour and 6 hour? If you want to check the intensity of rainfall between 0 hour and 6 hours, so total rainfall we now know it is 4 mm. Okay, but what will be the intensity of rainfall? So at that point of time, how the intensity is actually given? It is measured in terms of millimeters per hour, right? So that is depth of water divided by time period. So here total time period is how much? 6 hours. So in the denominator you have 6, and on the numerator what you have? Total rainfall is what? 4. So 4 divided by 6 is going to give you what? The intensity of rainfall for the first 6 hours, that is 0 to 6 hours. This is how you can get the intensity of rainfall. I hope I am clear for you. Intensity of rainfall from this rainfall mass curve, how they usually get it? Your intensity of rainfall is measured in terms of depth divided by time. So at this point of time, so 4 is the total amount of rainfall that has occurred. With our example 0 to 6 hours, 4 mm of rainfall has occurred, and for this 4 mm of rainfall to occur, it has took 6 hours. Okay, and if you want the intensity of rainfall, that will be 4 mm total rainfall divided by the time. So how you are going to get this? It is as good as taking a slope over here. Just try to I'll just try these color. Okay, so here basically you can have a slope, the slope of that particular yeah. So if you take the slope of this particular line, okay, the line which is over here, so what this slope is means what? Slope is equals to what? Y by x, y ordinate by x. So what is your y ordinate here? So it is varying from 0 to 4, so that itself is your y ordinate, and x ordinate is what? It is varying from 0 to 6, so here it is 6. So basically right now for the intensity of rainfall, what calculation I have showed, that is nothing but the slope of the curve which is going to be there. The slope of the curve itself indicates the intensity of rainfall. So this is how basically you can calculate that part of it. Now the next thing which is going to be there is with respect to the 6 to 12 hours. So from 6 to 12 hours, right now we don't have any rainfall as per the data which has been given over here. So for that case, what has happened? The line has remained flat. Okay, this is remained flat. So here also if you try to take the slope to check the intensity, what will happen? Y value is how much here? Y value is 0. If you take the slope of a horizontal line, there is no elevation in this line, right? So y coordinate will be 0, whereas x coordinate will be 6. So something 0 divided by something is always what? 0. You will not get any slope, so the slope value is 0 itself. So even the intensity of rainfall for this particular section is going to be what? 0 itself. I hope it is clear for you. Now similarly from 12 hour to 18 hour, the next section 12 hour to 18 hours, the amount of rainfall occurred is more than what we have seen from 0 to 6. 0 to 6 it was only 4, but whereas from here from 12 to 18 hours, right now this is how much? 6 mm of rainfall has occurred. So having that in mind, again you can take the slope of this line. So that will give you the intensity of rainfall for this particular rainfall stretch out. Okay, then again after 18 hours to 24 hours there was no rainfall, that's why it has remained straight line. I hope you got this. So this is how actually we can determine the total amount of rainfall as well as the intensity of rainfall. Now the third question will be, what is the duration of rainfall? Now with the this same figure just now what I have explained, if I need to tell you, with this simple 24 hours setup right now what we have made, you can understand we had two rainfalls in this 24 hours. The first rainfall has occurred from 0 to 6 hours, and the second rainfall has occurred from 12 to 18 hours. I hope you can see that. So here even the number of times the rainfall has started and stopped, even that time duration is also available with the help of what? This rainfall mass curve. Fine. Apart from that, you can even check out what will be the individual rainfall that has been collected from these storms. Okay, the first one is having how much? 4 mm of rainfall, that is 0 to 6 hour what rainfall was there. So we had 4 mm of rainfall. Now similarly, for the rainfall that has occurred from 12 mm to 8 mm, the total amount of rainfall collected was 10 mm. Okay, 10 mm, which is already mentioned here, but the rainfall has started from 4 mm. So the amount of rainfall collected for this portion is what? 10 minus 4 will be is equals to 6 mm, which is given over here. Okay, so this is how basically you can even check out what is the duration of rainfalls that are going to occur over here. So that is why this particular rainfall mass curve is going to play an important role. So here what you can do is, with the help of these graphs, you can check out the intensity for each hour also. Okay, just this, yeah, here you can check out the intensity for each hours. Okay, and once you get the intensity of rainfall for each hour with the calculation just now what I have shown, then you can draw the hyetograph that we have seen in the previous slide. Okay, so in that hyetograph what will happen? The y-axis will be the intensity of rainfall and the x-axis will be the time. So with each of these intensities, what you are going to calculate separately per hour or per day or what, based on your scale requirement. So that amount of intensity will be shown in this particular hyetograph. So that's why even for that hyetograph to work out, first you need the knowledge of rainfall mass curve. So rainfall mass curve is going to become the base point or basic concept for drawing of even the hyetograph that we have studied here. Okay, so with this small explanation for rainfall mass curve, okay, so we can basically go ahead with the further topics where we are going to utilize this mass curve for the practical applications of hydrology. Yeah. Now, after the presentation of rainfall data that has been done in the 5 ways or 6 ways that we have discussed, next thing that comes is regarding the interpretation of this precipitation data. So you have collected the rainfall data, then you have presented the rainfall data, but now you need to utilize that rainfall data. Okay, so for that utilization, basically we call them in general as the interpretation. Okay, so in this interpretation we have three modes, if I need to say, three steps are there. Okay, so one by one we'll just go on, but ultimate aim of ours is to have this average precipitation of over an area to be calculated. Okay, the first two will be the checks, or else these are the security measures for making sure that the data what we have collected and represent are accurate. So for that the first two steps can be used, and whereas the third one, ultimate goal is to determine the average precipitation over an area, so that we can convert the depth of rainfall that has been calculated from all these various rain gauge stations can be converted into the volume of rainfall that is being occurred. Okay, so keeping that in mind, the first one is estimating the missing precipitation data at a station. What do you mean by this? Let us just check out with a simple example. Okay, imagine this is my rain gauge, this is my catchment area. Okay, and in this catchment area, let us say that I have 4 rain gauge stations. Okay, I have determined with the help of formula which was there, n is equals to cv by epsilon square. Okay, optimum number of rain gauge stations. So I have used all those concepts and everything, and I came to know that optimum number of rain gauge stations required is equals to 4. Now, and in this catchment area I have placed 4 number of rain gauge stations, so everything is set up. But now unfortunately imagine that if one of the rain gauge stations has stopped working. Imagine one of the rain gauge station has stopped working. So at that point of time what will happen is, you need to have to get the total amount of rainfall that is going to occur in this entire area. Okay, if you want this entire catchment area to be considered, then you need even all the 4 to be working, 4 rain gauge stations to be working. But unfortunately right now the condition is one of the rain gauge station is not working. So that's why with this estimating the missing precipitation which is there, that actually utilizes the remaining 3 rain gauge stations in that catchment area also in some cases the outside stations which are available, and then they are going to calculate what might be the rainfall data from this not working rain gauge station. Okay, such kind of calculations we are going to do. I hope you understood this, why we need this missing precipitation calculation is because we need to make sure that the particular the not working rain gauge station which is there, that we need to calculate the rainfall data collected from that particular point. Okay, so that's why we need to have this. So in this missing precipitation data collection, we have three methods in which we can do that. The first one is arithmetic mean method, what we have. Second is normal ratio method, and the third one is multiple regression method. Okay, so this is arithmetic mean, normal ratio, and multiple regression. So theoretically we'll check out all the three, but the problems we are going to solve on the first two only, because third one requires huge quantum of data, as well as that is out of scope for your particular curriculum what we have. So here we'll check out the theoretical aspect for all the three, but the problems will be solved only for the first two. Now the second one is checking the inconsistency in particular data at a station. What do I meant by that is, imagine this, I try to rub off. Again the same scenario is there. Okay, I have calculated all that optimum number of rain gauge stations with the required formula, and I got n is equals to 4, and in the catchment area right now I have the same number of rain gauge stations which needs to be there. Now the next question that comes is, with what confidence you can say that these rain gauge stations which are already there, whether they are giving you an accurate results or not? How you are going to decide on that? Okay, because if the data are not accurate, then obviously whatever interpretation and whatever practical use you are going to make use of, so all those things will become useless. So that's why before you go for this third part, okay, you need to check for the inconsistency, if any, that can be there in this particular rain gauge stations. Okay, so for that we use a technique called as double mass curve technique. We use a technique called as double mass curve technique. So in this double mass curve technique, what we do is we specifically select a particular rain gauge station, and we study its recording of rainfall with respect to the remaining stations which are there, and then we put it in a backdated method where we are going to draw a graph, and that graph itself is called as double mass curve. Okay, and based on that graph we can actually check out whether this rain gauge station has given us accurate results over the years or no. So we can basically check out with that. So that thing we are going to study in the double mass curve technique. And ultimately the last one will be average precipitation over the area. So in this what we are trying to do here is, as we have discussed earlier, the amount of rainfall, just a minute. Okay, okay. So here ultimately what will happen in this third section is, we need to make sure that we want to calculate what is the total volume of rainfall that is occurring. Okay, so for that volume, what will be your formula? Effective area of each rain gauge station into the depth of rainfall collected by the rain gauge stations. Now this depth we will get from each of the rain gauge stations which are available here, so there is no problem with that. But you need to determine this average area for each of the rain gauge stations which is going to be there. Okay, so that is what we call it as the effective area of each of the rain gauge station. Now in this only, if I need to tell you, okay, imagine, yeah, so I have divided this entire catchment area into 4 groups. Okay, now each of that 4 area which is being there, so we need to calculate what is the effective area for each of these rain gauge stations. Okay, so this is the second section, right? So this is the third section what we have, and this is the fourth section what we have. Okay, so once I calculate all these effective areas, then my total volume will be is equals to what? It is A1 into D1 plus A2 into D2 plus A3 into D3 and A4 into D4. Okay, so here if I write this as first one, second one, third rain gauge station and fourth rain gauge station, so your total calculation of volume will be given by something of this sort of formula. Now to do this, okay, since we have 4 rain gauge station here, then you need to determine 4 effective areas. That itself is A1, A2, A3 and A4. Okay, so how you are going to determine these 4 areas? For that you are going to use these 3 methods. First one is arithmetic mean method. Again, the first method of determining the effective area is arithmetic mean method. Second, we have something called as Thiessen polygon method. Second, we have something called as Thiessen polygon method. And the third one what we have is isohytal method. The third one what we have is called as a isohytal method. Okay, arithmetic mean, Thiessen polygon and isohytal method. So these are basically the 3 ways in which you can determine the average or else effective area for that particular rain gauge station. So once these effective areas are known, then we can actually calculate the total quantum of rainfall that has occurred. Along with that, even we can get what is the amount of runoff that is going to be there. Okay, so basically all these will come in the practical aspect of this interpretation of rainfall data. So now one by one we are going to check out these. So the problems will be there on all these. Okay, whether it is the arithmetic average, normal ratio method, double mass curve technique, again arithmetic average, Thiessen polygon and isohytal method. So in this online sessions we'll try to cover only the formulas and theory for these particular aspects, but whenever you come back, that time we'll concentrate more on the problems. And if this lockdown extends, then even I'll try to make sure that I'll convey the problem session also through the online mode. Okay.